Life expectancy for women is longer than it is for men, and while the difference may be just a couple of years, that difference presents some real unique challenges when it comes to financial planning.
So joining us this morning to talk about some of those challenges is financial planner Kerry Wallingford. Thanks for being with us, Kerry.
You're very welcome.
This is something a lot of women think about because we know that when women outlive men.
Yes.
So when it comes to that, assets, that's a big thing, right?
Right. Well, what happens is women don't think about it enough.
Yeah.
So when couples are doing their planning, they're doing the planning for the older spouse. And when you say, well, how long do you want to plan your assets to last? They're like, well, I'm going to die when I'm 95. But the wife is typically 10 to 15 years younger.
Right, still going.
So they're going to typically outlive their spouse by 10 or 15 years. Their incomes are going to be less because they haven't planned for that longevity.
So something to think about there.
Yeah.
Widowhood, 15 years, that's not uncommon.
Right.
Loss of a spouse, another big challenge.
Right, and most women depend on their Social Security as a major source of their retirement income. So when you think about planning for retirement, what you have to think about is when you elect. So if you've got a higher wage earner, and that wage earner elects at 62 or 63, they're taking a 25 to 30% cut in their Social Security.
Wow.
If they defer to age 70, they get a 24 to 32% increase in their Social Security over that full retirement benefit. That increase goes to their widow when they pass. So it's a big impact from a planning standpoint for a woman.
And that makes a big difference financially.
It makes a huge difference.
And then long-term care can be really expensive. You want to make sure
Yes.
that you don't outlive your long-term care that you're planning for, right?
Yes, and I'm very passionate about that particular topic. So women tend to have more care needs. They are chronically ill for a longer period of time than men. We already know that people who reach age 65 have a $240,000 budget just for their health care. Doesn't count the long-term care. Wow. So if women, and 85% of women are widowed beyond age 85. So if you think about it, they don't have a spouse caregiving for them. So they need to plan for their long-term care, know what assets they're going to use for that, or make sure that they've got a policy that protects them for a duration of time.
Because healthcare is expensive. Healthcare, medical expenses. How much should people be preparing for?
Well, again, if you just think about the health care alone, that's the $220, and you think about the long-term care impact, that's another $80,000 to $100,000 per year of care. And women tend to need care for 3 to 4 years on average statistically.
Wow.
Inflation is a factor also.
Right. So inflation has to be considered when retirement planning. You can't say, well, I want to retire at $100,000 a year and not inflate that, because then what happens is your buying power goes down, obviously. So we need to plan for the assets increasingly giving you more income throughout your life. And there's ways to do that. By doing good planning, you can make sure that your spouse, the woman in the household, has got an income for the rest of her life, by making sure you've got that fixed income.
Not just you guys. Also, the sixth challenge we're looking at this morning, lower lifetime earnings seems to be a big issue, right? I mean, people are not really keeping up with the cost of living.
Well, and we all know that. That's been a topic as Women's Awareness Month. But what happens not only is the women earning less for their male counterparts, but women are the primary caregivers. They care for their children, and they care for their parents who didn't get long-term care. So they are taken out of the workforce on a number of occasions, so they have less opportunity to save. They have less available in pensions. Really, who's got pensions except Boeing? Yay, Boeing.
Yeah.
So for women, when you start to think about that, there's a big impact that goes along with that whole conversation.
So what would be your number one piece of advice for young women who are working in the workforce right now?
To sit down with somebody and plan.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. The sooner you start planning, the easier your long-term plan can be. You give up much less of your current lifestyle when you start younger than if you wait till your 40s or 50s. You give up 10% of your current lifestyle versus 20 to 30% of your lifestyle when you're in your 40s by waiting. So starting early is the best thing, and understanding the different impacts that you have as a woman that you need to plan for. And a couple always needs to plan together. I don't believe that one person should
Much
do
more
the
peace
planning.
of mind later, too.
Yes.
Kerry Wallingford, thanks for coming
Thank
back in this
you.
morning.
You're very
Wallingford
welcome,
Financial.
guys.
Yeah, we'll put that online. You can share the link with people to help them out, too.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Kerry.